Week 6 of NFL action was chaos wrapped in clarity, and we called a lot of it. Let's get popping as we review what happened. The Jets flat as Wembley turf. Denver beat them up overseas. Zero pulse, zero fight. If you rostered Fields or Wilson, condolences. Denver's defense held New York to under 250 total yards. That's not NFL football, that's a scrimmage. Pittsburgh bullies. They handled a rookie QB like pros in their game against the Browns last week. Forced 3 field goals, sacked Gabriel 4 times, held Cleveland to 3.8 yards per play. Metcalf kept cooking. Rodgers game managed, and Warren's back in the mix. Chargers got right in Miami, barely. Vidal looked legit. He looked better than I thought he would, turning 4.6 yards per carry behind a patchwork line. Herbert threw darts. McConkey finally overtook Keenan Allen's target share. Miami dead in the water. That O-line has now allowed pressure on 41% of dropbacks. Yikes. New England handled business in New Orleans. Drake May stepped up 260 yards, 2 tutties on top of that, and a calm that belies a rookie QB. Diggs is becoming matchup proof again, and that Patriots defense held the Saints under 5 yards per play. Rams rolled without Lamar. Kyron Williams, 812 total yards, and he also had 2 tutties, while the defense held Baltimore under 14. Exactly what we expected. With Stafford scores, and the Colts quietly look like a top 10 offense in success rate. Brissett from the I'm sorry, that's from the Arizona game, but point being, JT killed it, right? Seattle and Jacksonville, we know that Brian Thomas, but the Jaguars whiffed an opportunity. There's a play call back. He had at least another 50-yard touchdown on top of the production that he got. Seattle, they held their own. Jacksonville missed yet another opportunity. Seattle was down 3 DBs and still held Lawrence under 200 passing yards. That's grit right there on the road. That's a huge win. Dallas and Carolina, yeah, we whiffed. Not much else to say about that. Bryce Young looked like an NFL QB for once. Rico Dowdle's 200 plus total yards over the last 2 weeks is unreal. This dude has over 400 all-purpose yards over the last 2 weeks. Insane stuff. But Pickens paid off. Dak was viable, and we just got to adapt. Raiders and Titans. Callahan got fired. That's what happened there. Raiders handled business. Johnsey scored again. That's what happens, right? Like he's not getting a lot of production, but he's getting in the box basically. So Geno continues to look lost. The Vegas wins the bad team bowl. Tampa Bay, we missed that one also. Baker Mayfield's rewriting his history, man. He's top 5 in EPA per dropback since week 3. Did it this time with nobody, no Evans, no Godwin. That's leadership. I don't know what else to say about that. Green Bay survived Cincinnati late. Flacco shooting up days after the trade is just nothing short of iconic, and we'll keep talking about him in just a moment too. But don't taunt Jamar Chase is the moral of the story. He turned 75 quiet minutes into 2 really quick house calls. The Packers defense saved it, but the Bengals found their fight at the end of that game, which is to be continued kind of a story into this week. Kansas City over Detroit, right call. Mahomes spread it out. He spread it around. Golf got smothered. Lions still bullied a bit on the ground, but Kansas City reminded them, we play championship ball. Buffalo fell asleep in Atlanta. Atlanta, their defense is coming on strong. They play all facets of the game well. That's not something that's not a sentence that's been uttered recently in quite some time. Bijan gashed them for 6.3 yards a carry. He had a great day. Bills defense has fallen from 3rd to 12th in rush EPA allowed. They are falling. Fix it fast. Fix it now. We're not chasing. And the Bears, oh, we saw it coming. Swift slicing through the lines like it's 2023 Detroit, baby. Caleb growing each week. Chicago quietly run 3 straight, and you can feel it. Momentum smells different. Smells real. More on that later. Quick transparency check. DFS was a grind. We hit plenty of the right names. Thomas, Vidal, Kyron, but not enough combos to clear the cash line. That's the game. Thin edges. Steady hands. All right, week 6 was about truth. Who's for real, who's falling apart, and which teams can win ugly. We read the tape, we check the data, and now we hit the gas. We are in week 7. This is Tiger Bomb Sports Audio Entertainment, where we learn, scout, win, and repeat. So at that, we have to move on until another great segment. Would you rather, if you're unfamiliar with the show, this is where I go through a couple of conundrums for the week. Would you rather play this guy? Would you rather play that guy? And I'm really going based off of some popular choices being posed on the social media websites today, or the fantasy football information hubs, if you will, today. So let's hop into that. Pop that on the screen there for you so you can take a look as we go along. Rico Dowdle to Tower. I don't know this guy's first name. Dowdle versus McMillan. All right, we'll go there. Give me Dowdle. Carolina's run game is their offense right now. He's averaged 5.2 yards per touch over the last 2 weeks, and he owns 68% of red zone carries, which is crazy. McMillan's seen decent target, but Carolina's pass volume sits bottom 10, basically. So take the touches over the hope. We'll go Dowdle here. Rashee Rice versus Scatabo. Rice gets Mahomes, right, in a friendly passing environment, but his route participation is under 65%. So Kansas City, they rotate the wideouts. Scadabo's workload is steady, but he's at Denver facing a defense ranked top 3 in coverage and also top 5 in EPA allowed since week 4. They're stout against the run. Like, they don't do any parts bad. So I'll still lean Scatabo for raw volume. Exposure over volatility is how we're going to win fantasy football, guys. Let's see. Jordan Mason versus Wan'Dale Robinson. Mason's up against the Eagles, who rank top 5 in rush EPA allowed in run stop win rate. That's a no-fly zone for ground games. So Wan'Dale Robinson, meanwhile, gets the Broncos, and he should see steady short yardage work, A-dot around 5 yards, right? So he can chip away. Give me Wan'Dale Robinson. Mason's running straight into a green wall. Mason Taylor versus Elic Ayomanur. Easy call for me. Mason Taylor, easy call for me. No Garrett Wilson means Fields leans on his tight end again. Carolina allows the 4th highest catch rate to tight ends. That's 79% this year. And Taylor's red zone usage is climbing. So my assessment is that the rookie tight end is heating up, and the matchup says keep feeding him. Xavier Worthy versus Kamani Vidal this week. Chargers O-line, they rank 29th in run block win rate. Gross. And so Vidal's in a tough spot, especially versus this team this week. Meanwhile, Worthy's led Kansas City in first read targets 2 straight weeks. So they're looking at this guy in the right opportune moment. So Worthy gets Mahomes' trust. If Vidal gets swallowed whole, take the speed. Rashee Rice or Ja'Cory Crosky Merritt. I'll never remember this dude's name, man. Ja'Cory Crosky Merritt. Okay, Rice has ceiling but shaky volume. Crosky Merritt's workload is clear against the Dallas defense, giving up 4.7 yards per carry over the last 3 games, essentially. So give me the rookie running back, I should say. Dallas can't stop a faucet right now. J.K. Dobbins versus Jalen Waddle. Dobbins won't be needed if Denver jumps ahead. Essentially, Waddle's back to, and also on top of that, Waddle's back to 90% snap share. So Miami will have to throw. We know that. I'll take Waddle. Garbage time still counts. And that's in a weather game. The weather matters, but there's going to be brisk winds. There may be some rain. The weather matters, but you still got to pass. No team in the NFL will look at rain and then only run the football besides Bill Belichick, and he's not in the NFL anymore. You have to pass at some point, right? It doesn't behoove you playing the defense if you can't show them a couple of different looks. So that's what we think about that one. Jacoby Myers versus Isaiah Pacheco. Okay, Pacheco's path is cleaner. He's logged 18 plus touches in 3 straight, and Kansas City's expected to control the tempo in this one. So Myers, just 4 targets per game lately. He's meandering out there. I don't know why so many people were asking about this. This is an easy one. This is not something we should be tripped up on if we were following the process. So volume wins, Pacheco reluctantly in that one. Rico Dowdle versus George Pickens. Pickens might flash, but Dowdle's the rock, baby. Back-to-back 100-plus yard total games, 200-plus yard total games. Carolina's feeding him early. Carolina's feeding him often. Pickens might pop. Dowdle will work. Give me the grinder. That is your Would You Rather segment for this week, and I hope that helps you guys and any conundrums you might have to understand who you might pick. And we'll slide it right along. Every episode, you guys are starting to feel that we got to talk about fraction. So with that, I'll just say, if you're a SaaS founder, you know the pain. Scaling fast without blowing millions on full-time hires. That's where fraction comes in. They give you senior US-based engineers and CTOs for 10 to 30 hours a week, vetted pros who deliver 2 to 4 times more with today's AI tools. Founders use fraction to speed up shipping, fix legacy messes, and even prep for M&A, all without 200K salaries, ladies and gentlemen. So you can start with a 1 week trial, 1 week risk-free trial and see the impacts right away. So if you're stuck between junior offshore talent and breaking the bank, go to fraction.work and find your next senior engineer or CTO. Fraction, senior talent, fractional cost. Moving right along, I think it's time that we go ahead and pop off with some reload. I love it. This is where I give you guys the body of what I'm thinking for each game this week, and I will not hold back this week either. Week 7, let's get it going. But we do have to start before we get it into Sunday with the Thursday night game. So we'll go Steelers at Dolphins, that Thursday night football recap. The story all week was, are the Bengals broken? Flacco's poised, said no. Said HE double hockey sticks. 342 yards, 3 touchdowns, while Jamar Chase reminded everyone he's matchup proof, ladies and gentlemen. If you didn't know, he's matchup proof. 23 targets, 161 yards, and the tutty on top of that. So Cincinnati ranks 3rd in offensive EPA since week 5. They're finding themselves. Chase's 41% target share leads the league, man. If you have him, you're eating right now, and that's regardless of who the quarterback is. Moral of the story, you don't talk Chase, and you just hope he runs out of routes. Reload. Getting into Sunday. London game, Rams versus the Jaguars here. Total 44.5. I'm leaning under on this one just a little bit. Narrative says Jacksonville owns London. True, but this isn't tourism. It's trench warfare. Rams front 7 is top 5 in run stop win rate, and Stafford's heating up without Puka. He doesn't need him. He won't have him. Jags allow 3.8 yards per catch. That's 8th in the league, 8th best, but ranked 27th in EPA per drop back defense. Air is the attack path here, is essentially what I'm getting at versus this team. So I expect the Rams to air it out. I expect Stafford to air it out. Devonta Adams looks pretty good, right? Scones and Stafford lasers. London awake early. Reload. Raiders at Chiefs. Total 45.5. I'm going to lean under on this one too. Everyone's saying, is Mahomes bored? Nah, dog. He's just patient. Vegas can't block Chris Jones. That's going to be the moral of the story on Sunday, and their QB carousel might have to start spinning if something doesn't happen. Jonty probably keeps the touchdown streak alive, but that's it. In this one, Kansas City's defense is a top 3 EPA allowed per drop back and 2nd in pressure rate at 41%. I think your boy Geno Smith's going to be running for his life. Arrowhead doesn't give handouts, only funerals. And let me take the Chiefs at home. Reload. Dolphins at the Browns. Total is 40.5. I could even lean under on this one. We're getting some weather here. Talking point is, can Miami bounce back? Not in Cleveland. Not in this weather. Two teams at 1-5, but only one plays grown man defense is the difference. Browns front four leads the NFL in pressure rate without blitzing. Achan fine for seasonal. Judkins smash for DFS. Njoku for short yardage work is what I was thinking, but he's out. So we're going to go with Fanning. He'll get the tight end touches. Browns allow the fewest explosive passes, 6.2%, and Miami's O-line is bottom 5 in pass block win rate. This ain't going to be pretty. As a DFS tip, this is going to be a weather the war here, a war weather, I should say, rather here. A weather war, rather here. My God, let me get it together. But the point is rain plus 50-mile-an-hour gust, right? That's hurricane type-ish. Running back plus defensive stack sounds pretty good to me with this Browns team versus Miami. So you may want to get some exposure with that in DFS. When Mother Nature calls plays, she runs it 40 times, reload. Patriots at Titans, total 42.5. I could lean under here too, thanks to the Titans. You guys sensing something this week? Maybe go under. National chatter says Vrabel revenge game. Returning back. The prodigal son returns home to Tennessee. Coached there many years, brought him to the pinnacle of the AFC success. Now back home in New England where he played as a player. Now, people are saying, what about May? I think May methodically handles business this week. The rookie's ball placement has been elite. Let's talk about that for a second. 61% on throws, 20 plus yards down the field. And Tennessee just fired its OC. Ramondre is steady. Travion is a deep shot, but he's coming on. Titans defense has allowed 106 QB rating since week 3. They ain't changing defensive people, I don't think. So Vrabel's fire meets May's method, and the rook stays cool. I'm going to take New England on the road here. Reload. Panthers at Jets, total 42.5. I'm leaning under on this one also. Storyline here. Can the Jets actually win one? That's what we're talking about. Now, Carolina's won 3 straight, but mostly at home. Breece Hall hits a wall versus this run defense and Derek Brown. So Fields leans on Mason Taylor is what I think. That's my shot this week. I'm calling it. I'm saying it with my chest, right? Who leads? Mason Taylor, who I might add, leads the NFL in red zone targets the last 2 weeks. Rico Dowdle's emergence continues. That boy's going to get his. But in this one, the Panthers are top 6 they're top 6 versus run success rate, but literally dead last versus tight end catch rate, 82%. So, as I said, Mason Taylor is the key here for DFS cash game. Let's print that money. Jets win ugly. Taylor wins DFS. Reload. Saints at the Bears, 46.5. I'm going to go over on this one. Bears ain't got no defense. Everyone's talking about Rattler swagger after the close loss, and I'm buying it pretty much. I don't like to go with the crowd, but against this Bears defense, it makes sense. This is a get right spot for Olave and possibly Kamara. I will be less invested in Kamara. Swift keeps Chicago steady, I believe, but Dennis Allen's unit can't cover for 4 quarters is the point of this. Bit of a homecoming, or a rivalry game for Allen, the Saints, where he obviously is from. They're familiar with him, right? There's that punch to it. Chicago allows 8.1 yards a play per average and ranks 31st in defensive success rate on 3rd down. So that just says whoever's playing them is having their way, right? Points in the win. Stack it and smile. Reload. Bears win that one if you didn't get my drift. Eagles at the Vikings. In this one, headline story: can Philly stop the slide? 2 straight losses and now two top 2 run defenses in their face. They'll need Saquon and turnovers to escape with this one. Jefferson still unguardable no matter who starts at QB. I love that for him. So Vikings allow just 3.6 yards per carry. I think they're going to be stouter on the ground. I'm sorry. No, I don't think they're going to be stouter on the ground. I think that they will be stingy in the air, but Saquon can find some room on the ground. Jefferson, though, he's averaging 3.4 yards per route, highest since 2022. That definitely bodes well. All right, Chargers at Colts. Sorry about that. Total 48 and a half, and I'm leaning over in this one. Herbert has to throw behind a hurt O-line. McConkey's now the wide receiver one, 8 targets a game. He's eclipsed Keenan Allen. And so JT is rolling. Jonathan Taylor's rolling at 5.4 yards per catch. That's the guy that I want. Fast track turn shootout. But I think from the Colts side, it's through the run game. From the Chargers side, I'm looking at Herbert. I'm looking at McConkey. That's the way it rolls. If you want a ranking of the receivers, I'm going to go McConkey, Allen, Quentin Johnson. Reload. Giants at the Broncos. Rookie Dart in Denver is a fade. Broncos lead the NFL in pressure and coverage grade. So defense and Dobbins carry the day in this one. I like Sutton though to get his too. Other than that, I think it's just so easy. Everybody has an easy path, so I don't know who else would be able to get. Like it's like random, right? So reload. Packers at the Cardinals. Jordan Love, 8.3 YPA, yards per play average, 7 touchdowns in the last 2 games. He's heating up. I like him this week. We'll play him for DFS and Green Bay defense. Plus 9 turnover margin since week 3. That's pretty sexy. Matthew Golden is the quiet cash pivot in this one, ladies and gentlemen. The dude is healthy. The dude is ready. The dude is steady. And the Cardinals stink. I like this dude on the road. Love drops bombs. Desert melts fast. Packers on the road. Reload. Lions at the Chiefs. Total 52.5. I'm going to lean over on this one. I'm sorry. We got there already. I'm sorry. I'm thinking I'm somehow indexing notes from last week. I apologize, guys. Commanders at Cowboys. This is a friendly scoring environment. Both defenses are bottom 5 in explosive plays allowed. Dak and Pickens, Daniels and McLaurin. I'm sorry, McLaurin's not in it. So Debo Samuel. We find out McLaurin's sitting. But the one thing I will say about this one is like DFS chalk tip, right? Like everybody's jamming Dak Lamb, I should say. So you got to get different. Run Dak doubles without Lamb, like Ferguson probably is what I would do. I'll recommend him for DFS, and you see that I'm not recommending Pickens or Lamb. I don't think they'll do well enough to eclipse the chalk that you'll eat by playing with everybody. Or you flip to Jaden Daniel stacks, right, with the non-Lamb bring back. So same ceiling, half the ownership. If everybody's fishing in the same pot, cash your pole 1 pond over. Reload. Going over to Monday night now. Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, going over to Sunday night now. Falcons at the 49ers here. Falcons number 1 in PFF defense. That's what you need to know about this game. 49ers just 2.9 yards per carry since week 5. Bijan and the D headline an upset that isn't, in my opinion. I think Atlanta can go on the road and get this one, but McCaffrey gets his. I think he's fine. Everything else is a little shaky. Hearing that we're going to get Kittle back, it makes no matter. Atlanta packed pads, not permission. Reload. On to the final shot. Texans at the Seahawks. Total 49.5. I'm going to lean under on this one. 2 top 10 defenses on each side. That's the point. Seattle plus 6 turnover margin since week 3. Expect grind, not glitz. Punts, pain, and patience. Monday therapy. I'm going to take the home team here. Seahawks over the Texans. But if you got to pick a Texan wide receiver, give me Schultz for tight end, I guess, as a safety blanket. But sorry, guys, there was a little jumping around there with the reload. I'll keep it tight next week. But hey, that's what we got. We went through every game, showed you what I think. Hopefully that helps add to your bottom line of knowledge of what you want to play. Before we get to go any further, let's go ahead and shout out those Downey Razorbacks last week. They played the High Desert Bulldogs. Man, what a tough game, but congratulations to the Razorbacks. 14-8 gritty win. Guys made some defensive stops in the end to win that game and showed some perseverance when it mattered. On to better, on to Valhalla, right? And so new game, new opponent this week. Southgate coming for you. Let's slide into DFS. Let's talk about who I want to play on DraftKings this week and get you guys out of here on a high note with some win picks for week 7. Get that on the board there. Get that on the screen there for you. And you see we've got some more wide receivers than usual. We're a little light in each column this week. So we're going to play a concerted few players at quarterback, tight end, running back, and defense. Like, we're not mixing it up that much, right? It's a lot of games. So if you think about it, it's not that many names there. Wide receivers where we're going to vary things up a little bit. Okay. So this week at QB, Jaden Daniels, again, that shootout game as tournament plays, I think it's fine to, have a lineup with him, have a lineup with Prescott. That makes sense. But Justin Herbert feels cash game this week. He feels cash game prominent this week against that opponent. Drake May, I'll have some exposure to. Love, as we talked about, and Reload is in a great spot. And then Fields is cash game too. I think it's a great play because people won't be on it because there is no Wilson. But through either his legs or through Mason Taylor, like, they're going to find ways. I've been thinking, like, because they're down a receiver, maybe this is better for Brees, but because of the matchup, I'll stick with what I've been saying. But at any rate, Fields, cash game. Rattler down there, going to have tournament exposure to that. The Bears are just too bad at 4,800. And then moving on to wide receiver, Justin Jefferson, lock it in at cash game. I mean, that's a great spot against this Philly defense. They haven't been able to stop anybody, guys. Look at the tape. Adunze, also in a great spot. Samuel for volume. I wish I could play McLaurin this week. I wish he was ready and healthy. He's not. I feel not as good about Samuel as I would about McLaurin, but well enough to play it. McConkey, as I talked about at the top of the show, he's past Keenan Allen as number one in target share and looks, right? And so we're going to play that this week and fade Allen. Sutton, $5,900. This is a soft price against an easy team. Should be able to get in the end zone, like one tutty at least. But for cash games, we got a series of cheap guys that you can use because if you notice, we got some more expensive running backs and, Jefferson's expensive. So how do we pay for that? Well, we pay down. Stephon Diggs, we talked about him once again, becoming matchup proof, $5,600. I'm not going to say that yet, but like he's just playing real well, right? For a guy his age on the injuries he's had, he's doing better than we've expected by a mile. 5,600, that's a friendly price this week. As is $5,400 for Olave against this sieve of a Bears defense. Golden played him up for you earlier, $4,700. That sounds right to me. But Shashid in tournaments is great, $4,500. Judy for the revenge factor in a game where you can't run every play, right? Like even in bad weather, you got to pass. So I do like Judy over Isaiah Bond or anybody else. Fanning's in play just because tight end depth of target makes sense in bad weather. McCaffrey, $4,100. He got in the box last week. So at wide receiver McCaffrey, we're looking there again as a tournament punt. Jalen Naylor, I think, can see some opportunity this week against that Philly defense. Tight end, Ferguson. That's where I plant my flag, right? I'm not going to go with Lamb. I'm not going to go with Pickens. I think they both can have decent weeks, but they're both pretty expensive. What feels more likely is that Ferguson could pay off before they do. And so I do like that in an environment where everybody's, in a good spot, right? There's just so much for Dak to pick from. So I'll take Ferguson. And then Kraft, you see there, but Goddard coming back, I think is a cash game spot. Depth of target has been a problem for the Eagles. Passing game in general has been a problem for the Eagles. Goddard is the one bright spot they've had in the couple of times they have been able to pass. So let's go there. Fanning, as I talked about, there's no Njoku. That solidifies things for us. With Cleveland in a game that, for the umpteenth time, weather, wind, all that, like a shorter A dot makes sense. That's the tight end. Mason Taylor, lock it in, $3,400. I'm excited to play that. And Jawan Johnson, again, attacking those Bears, $3,100. Now, running backs, we should pay up for JT this week, $8,800. I'm hoping a lot of people won't be able to do it or fit it in. He is cash game, but I use the other cash game guys in full transparency to make the exact lineup that I wanted. But Josh Jacobs in a great spot. Saquon Barkley this week. I love him as a bounce back. The Eagles know they need to put a win on the board. I think they let this guy run loose. $7,700. That's the most friendly price we're going to get for Saquon, guys. So I want to ride it while I can. Rico Dowdle's in a great spot again. I think he'll be popular, but in tournaments, I'm going for it. Javonte Williams also in play. Judkins is cash game. Just like what else are they going to do? This is a team that's asking that QB to drop back 56 times. Not going to be able to do it in inclement weather. So the weather will force their hand because every time they give it to Judkins, he looks like a beast, right? And so we just want to see more of that. Just give us more of that. And then Swift, great price, $5,700. I have to lock into that as a salary saver to bring back some more expensive things in tournaments. And then for defense down there, Chiefs at 3,700 makes sense versus the woeful Raiders. Broncos this week, $3,500 versus the Giants makes sense. But then the Browns, $3,000. That makes sense to me versus Miami. Again, weather, right? But that's what DFS is shaping up as, and I hope that helps you guys make your picks. And I wish you good luck in your picks. And finally, before we get out of here, we'll go to housekeeping. And I'm pulling up my phone because housekeeping this week is going to be short and simple. Housekeeping this week is going to be about some bets we want to exploit. And I'm going to use Underdog to do it this week. But guys, we have to hedge our bets. Fantasy football is becoming hard. Like DFS is becoming so hard. There's a lot more sharks out there. The websites take advantage of you a little more. They don't put the right content, stuff like that. It becomes harder and harder to cash every week. Not to say we can't, but we have to supplant when we lose, right? And so how do we do that with sure things, right? And so I'm gonna give you 3 bets that you can place on Underdog right now. And that's kind of what I went with. Actually, I'll give you 2 because I did a 3-leg parlay. The third already happened though, and it was not football related. If you guys must know, okay, fine, I'll tell you. It was Kevin Gausman of the Toronto Blue Jays. The first leg of the parlay was him being lower than 30.5 fantasy points in his outing tonight. And yeah, they continued to pull their guys early as I figured they would, but I just made it. He had a great outing. He came in at 26 points. So we won there. But these next 2 are football plays. So this is our housekeeping for the week. You got to exploit these things that we talk about on the show. You hear what I'm thinking in Reload. You hear what I'm thinking in Would You Rather. Hear what I'm thinking in every segment, DFS, everything, right? And so it should be easy to identify when the picks are skewed in our favor. So this week, Rico Dowdle, higher than 62.5 rush yards. That's just a smash play. That's a smash play. You got to play that. The other is Bijan Robinson, higher than 0.5 rushing or receiving touchdowns. Yes, that is absolutely a smash play. He's in a great spot versus that defense. So those are the 2 plays that I would encourage, and just overall encouraging you guys to think more about hedging your DFS, lineups with that sort of a thing, because it's something sure that we know, right? Boom. That's what I got for you this week. Good luck, everybody. Hopefully you crush your lineups and win. We will do what we do, which is follow the process and then huddle right back up here next week and talk about what we did right, what we did wrong, and we will continue to learn, scout, win, and repeat.